we're gonna do the vote on the CON transfer, the CON application transfer of Northern Ambulance Corp. To Monroe Medi Trans Inc. I think the first thing I'd like to do, unless you need me to stop and you want to take over, is just for clarifications, go around and do that you have no conflict, and then we can go from there. Is that okay?
Yeah, we can just ask bulk if anybody here has a conflict that they need to declare.
What's that?
Oh, yeah, we should do a roll call of attendance.
All right, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Jeff Beeching. James Schwartz.
Here.
Storm Trainer.
Yes.
Tammy Trombley is excused. Trisha Bashaw.
Here.
Stephen Miller. Dakota Alcott.
Here.
Michael Watts.
Here.
Craig Dumas.
Here. Remote.
Scott Harwood. Eric Catalfamo.
Here.
Patrick Mellon.
Here.
Ashley Rivers. John Timms. Vicky Campbell.
Here.
Adrian Hamilton.
Here.
Mark Spezio. Paul Zinn. And Dr. Bombard is not here.
Can we send, Jack just texted me, can we send him an online link, please?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, do you want to go ahead or?
Sure. So does anybody here have a conflict of interest with either Northern or Monroe? Or any question of if they would have a conflict of interest? Okay, hearing none, I will read the timeline of how things were received. So on 10/1 of 24, we received an email of a redacted copy of the transfer of operating authority application from Northern Ambulance. Notification was given to the CON committee and the REMSCO chair. On the same date, a redacted copy was emailed to the CON committee and the REMSCO chair. 10/3/24, a full TOA application was received with check, which means the clock officially started. The TOA original was overnighted to the REMSCO chair, and the check was mailed to the treasurer. On 10/3/24, we notified the CON committee that the timeline had officially begun. On 10/9, follow-up email sent to the CON committee for the status. On 10/9, also deemed complete. F&Cs were sent to the state on 10/9. And notification of completion sent to the applicant. On 10/22, we received back the F&Cs with no concerns from the state. So this comes forward as a seconded motion from the REMSCO systems or CON committee. And we can begin to vote with a roll call vote.
Okay, is there a discussion point or just go right?
We can have a discussion.
Are there any discussions about the transfer? Okay, roll call vote, please.
James Schwartz,
Yes.
Storm Trainer,
Yes.
Patty Bashaw,
Yes.
Dakota Alcott,
Yes.
Michael Watts,
Yes.
Scott Harwood,
Yes.
Eric Catalfamo,
Yes.
Patrick Mellon,
Yes.
Vicky Campbell,
Yes.
Adrian Hamilton,
Yes.
Paul Zinn.
Yes.
Passes unanimously of the in-person members.
Awesome. Anything else we need to do for that?
Nope, we
Okay.
can go off the record.
And we thank
Off
you.
the record.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
That it?
That's
Yep.
it.
That's it.
All right.
That's an hour.
Just got back to that first. Back. Okay, all set?
Yep, I just have to give him a copy.
Okay, we'll wait.
I emailed them.
Jack on there. Okay, so, welcome to Mountain Lakes meeting. I really appreciate everybody being here. We got, besides that, we have other things to get taken care of tonight. but that was certainly important. So, the minutes were sent out for the May meeting. We didn't have a meeting in, or August because of Zoom, I believe it was.
Yes.
Is there a motion to accept the minutes as received? Scott, and the second is Michael. Were there any discussions, errors, or anything that needs to be fixed on the minutes? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Awesome. Dr. Baumgart on with us?
I don't see her.
Okay, can you give the CMAC report?
Yep, I will give a much more abridged version. So there is a whole bunch of new protocols that are coming through. Dr. Bombard just sent me, you wrote down, you can go over them.
So the protocol, they're gonna be doing some updates that will go into effect in January. They're going to swap out Hellbell for olanzapine. They're going to add waveform to supraglottic airways. The airway filter is going away, and then eye gel is going to be added to the protocols the pilot's over, and that will be with capnography
For BLS.
for BLS. Well, anybody who uses it. So.
Specifically, the iGel is being added though to the BLS.
Why are they taking Haldol out? Is there a discussion on why? Oh, who cares?
So I
Is it an
think,
either or option or is it a true med swap? We can't.
I think they're doing a med swap and probably it's because of the action of the drug would be my guess. So Haldol has some risk factors with it,
Sure.
which makes physicians uncomfortable giving it in the field where Zyprexa does not have those side effects. So I'm guessing that's why they changed it,
So I
but
think so too.
I wasn't part of that discussion. So Zyprexa is a pretty safe drug in reality. You could give it IM, you can give it PO. I don't know what they put in the protocol per se. I didn't look to see what the actual dose was, whether we could give it PO and IM.
And Dr. Bombard sent out a change log.
I did see this. I
Yeah.
didn't get a chance to read it
Yeah,
yet.
I haven't either, so.
Yeah.
Driving.
So, yeah,
I was just curious if
But I
there
think
was
that's-
if there's
I
a
think
shortage
that's
or
what
something. Okay.
no, I don't think it has anything to do with shortage with Haldol. I think Haldol is that QT thing that makes physicians uncomfortable without an EKG.
Sure.
I
Okay.
think you're probably right.
We've been giving it for years, but nobody seems to get it. Like-
Suddenly it's a
like,
problem?
how many
I was just curious.
prolonged QTs have you really
Okay,
seen?
fine.
Okay. Anything
Whatever.
else? Anything else in CMAC?
No.
Okay. SEMSCO report?
So really the only big thing that probably you guys should be aware of is starting with this contract year for the program agencies, because it's easier to work it into our contracts than it was for REMSCO contracts. Each region is getting $20,000 to send 2 people to paramedics. So it's one person up to $10,000 for a total of 2 people. So if your paramedic program is $8,000, you send 2 people to it, you still have another $4,000 that you can sit on and invest in some other way, as long as it's going towards paramedic education. So that's really, really cool. Also, they are going to be doing into our contracts for the regions, $15,000 in recruitment and retention funds. And it seems like, and I'm sure somebody from the state will probably correct me because I can see Vinnie's there. Somebody will probably correct me on this, but they've left the terms of the funding pretty loose so that it can be malleable to specific regions and to help meet the needs of the regions. So that's some good stuff to help hopefully bolster some paramedics in the regions. And that'll be for the full term of the program agency contracts, which is a 5-year contract. So that'll be $20,000 a year that will be able to invest in providers, and $15,000 a year that will be able to invest in the actual region for recruitment and retention initiatives.
Any questions on that? Okay, the answer from the SEMSCO?
So we have to come up with a plan, recruitment and retention, essentially.
My thought is to put together a subcommittee, one from each region to do that. The committees need to be tightened up. It's kind of a trickle down theory. We also need to have vacancies filled in order for the committees to be full. So that's my goal going forward. But yes, we will have a committee for that specific. I think a committee specifically for that whole initiative, and, I'm gonna.
We have one for the
If I want the
paramedics.
20,000 separate from that committee,
Yes,
or, maybe I'll go to, like education.
we need to do an education, a separate committee to pick people to go to the paramedic program. I think that's,
Right, so,
because we
I'll-
may have lots of applicants, or we may not have any.
right.
Well, and the other challenge that presents with that funding too is you have to have the money to front, because it's all reimbursements based.
Right.
So you have to voucher for it after you spend it. And
That's a problem.
Stated so.
All right, anything else from SEMSCO?
not that I don't think Vinny will cover it.
Okay, so next on the agenda is the New York State Department of Health reps. There he is. Go ahead, Vinny.
Good evening, everyone. So just a couple things. There's a couple new policy statements out. You have the first three are related to education regulation changes that were went into effect back in June. So you have policy 2406. It talks about the requirements for obtaining and maintaining certifications. It also talks about using National Registry as a certifying exam. Policy 2407 is all about PSEs. Policy 2408 is the change log of the education regulation changes. As far as us, we have a new EMS complaint form that can be done through a portal, just like just about everything else we're doing these days. So on the EMS forms page under the complaints and investigations tab, there is a portal for all complaints. Many of the agencies may have seen some correspondence from EMS licensures. So we have a new branch within the department that is currently being overseen by Dan Clayton and Don Trepez. So moving forward, well, since about July, they're handling all agency renewals. You won't be getting any of your stickers from the regional office unless it's like a new vehicle in between your renewal. All renewal stickers are going to be coming from the central office out of Albany. We just had vital signs last week. It was really well attended. We had with vendors 1,000 participants. The next year's vital sign is back in Syracuse at the On Center, and it's going to be slightly different. They're doing Tuesday through Saturday next year, and that'll be November 11th through the 15th. So keep an eye out for that as we kind of move through the year. And then just a couple of things that we want to emphasize, just, make sure you guys are, being cognizant of the colder temperatures, safe storage of medications, and securing your vehicles. And then the last part that we brought up at the REMAC was, please just throw out a reminder to your providers and your agencies to make sure you guys are using your shoulder straps and your safety restraint systems in the vehicles. About a month and a half ago, there was an accident with an ambulance in Western New York. The ambulance ended up on its roof. It did roll, but there was no injuries to the patient because they utilized the safety restraints on the stretcher. And from what we've been told, the patient was suspended for quite a while until they could safely remove her. So just throw a reminder out there, stay vigilant, and don't be complacent, anything like that. And that is all I have.
Awesome, thank you. Is Alex our rep up here?
So it's kind of questionable. For the most part, Alex is your rep out of the Capital District. It's
Are
not
you
really
on?
designated to anybody, but you could call myself, you can call Alex. We work collaboratively on a regular basis, but Alex is your rep.
Okay, and you are what to us?
So through the restructuring, we kind of covering both, but I work closely with Jonathan. So I'm out of the Central New York Regional Office, and I'm covering North Country, Mid-State, the Susquehanna region, and the Central New York region. But Alex and I kind of cross boundaries. So you can always reach out to me or Alex, and then we can assist you with whatever your needs are.
Gotcha. Maybe someday we get to see you in real life.
I would love to, hopefully sooner than later. I know Alex was trying to come up tonight, but he unfortunately had some stuff pop up, so he's not going to be able to. But he does have intentions of making it up, and we've talked about going together, so we're in person.
That would be great to like see you in person. That would be great.
Absolutely.
Okay, any questions for the rep? The New York State rep? Okay. Program agency report.
All right, once that gets pulled up. All right, so these come forward as seconded motions from the REMAC, ALS Operating Authority renewals. So Ossipel Forks, E-Town Lewis were both renewed for 2 years. It was, I finished it before.
No, Sable, not
Sable, sorry. And then the following 2-year agency, ALS Operating Authority renewals, Dartmouth, Fact, Shazy, did I say it right? I never said.
Shazy. It's Shazy.
Sorry. Owl's Head, Northern Ambulance / now Monroe, Saranac Lake, Salem, and City of Glens Falls. And they were all approved at the REMAC, so it comes forth to the REMSCO as a seconded motion for vote.
For 2 years, and E-Town and Owl's Head, we have all their paperwork, so they are complete. We just didn't update our PowerPoint.
So it came as a seconded motion. Do I need a second then?
Nope, you can just
Okay.
call for the vote.
Call for a vote, please. Do I need a roll call vote?
No, it can just.
Okay, all in favor? Perfect. And any opposed? Carries. Okay, next.
So these were approved at the August REMAC meeting for 2-year renewals. I'm not gonna butcher names. You can see them on the screen. Again, it comes forward as a seconded motion, so we can just call for a vote.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Next.
And that was because we didn't meet in August.
Right.
So these are some of the new policies that Vinnie had stated. So the second protocol change log, requirements for possession of an EMS certification, advanced EMS course PSE, and the education change logs. Health commerce system. Nothing new there. Pad reports, so we received a use from the DC in Peru County, or Clinton County at the campgrounds. Lake George School had a use. We had a new application from.
Shushan Fire Department.
No updates, which will likely change because there is a law that has come out that requires any youth sport organizations with over 15 people.
5 teams.
Over 5 teams has to have an AED and someone certified to use it.
So that just came out like yesterday or today, policy 2410. So you might see an increase traffic of CPR classes if you do those. And it will hopefully, it'll increase the PAD programs coming into the region, the program agency.
I'm not sure that people are aware that they need to do a whole PAD agency application.
So there's a little bit of gray area, and I haven't read this in depth yet. So the policy or law that came out said that they had to have an AED, but it didn't state clearly if they had to actually physically have an AED or if the
You have to
venue.
physically have an AED.
There's a line in there that says it has to have a reasonable explanation for how an AED will be readily available.
Right.
So,
Right. So because I've had multiple youth agencies contact me about AEDs, and their understanding is that they only need to get the AED and have it available to them or their team plays. So we had,
Correct, but there is if the venue also has an AED, because we ran into this with a soccer organization
Mhm.
over, my son plays for it. And it was, no one could give us a straight answer on if they had to go buy one or if they could use the facilities. because they're playing on the soccer field with a big building right in the middle of it that says AED inside and it's publicly accessible. So we couldn't really get a straight answer on that either direction, so.
So it's gonna be different depending on what
Yep.
the venue is.
100%.
I
So
just-
the two use forms.
I'll read
that
the
we did,
policy.
We
So
pulled the
we're gonna write all these
PCRs from,
pads.
we pulled the PCRs from the transporting agencies and we took a look at those and they were pretty good. I think one of them we made a comment on to the agency, but it was minor in nature.
Excellent. So BLS adjuncts and IGEL studies. So until the new protocols take effect in January, agencies that want to do BLS IGEL have to do the pilot program still. Once the new protocols are in effect, it's an optional adjunct with REMAC approval. Courses, we have people here from those areas, so I'll just let you talk about them instead of me trying to talk about them.
Yeah, we have two EMT original refresher courses running, two advanced, one here with Patty and one in Cambridge. In the spring, we'll be very close, probably have one EMT original refresher running and then two AEMTs for the spring. And we are trying to set up for a summer class again this year.
Nice. Sorry.
So Clinton's classes are running. We will have another basic and refresher in the spring, as we always do. We're going to try and run a first responder course if I can ever get the schedule typed up for firefighters in the region who were interested in taking one a year ago. I'm not sure they're still interested, but we'll see what we come up with. I think it's good they're reaching out again to start the training because this has been a dilemma. We've had some disastrous incidents, I think, in the last year, and people are really wanting to step up to the plate and are confused about how much they really should be doing and not doing. So I think it'll be good for them if they can get into it. And then we will probably have another summer class, another basic summer class. Those are doing well, depending on what our instructor status is and who's available to teach. It's, we struggle with instructors like everybody else does. There just are not enough people to go around. So we'll see. It's all a work in progress. But the college is hosting us. They're looking, they're giving them college credits for those people who want them. So it's a step in the right direction, and I think they're working on it. We are, so Mountain Lakes is still hosting the bridge program for the critical care techs. I understand Scott has a group of people who are taking it this time around. So they started, right? They started October 17th. There's a couple of people in Clinton County that are doing it. I think there's 3 or 4. I don't know. I haven't seen the list yet. When we get all done, is anybody doing it from down by you guys, down in Warren or Washington County? Anybody know of anybody who's registered at all?
Washington County that's doing it?
I mean, so Zach just sent me the list. I'm going to reach out to those people who have not signed up and see where they may be stumbling blocks for them to see if they're interested in reaching out to do it. Because I do think that if you're already a critical care and you've worked at it for 4 or 5 years, maybe you want a bridge. Maybe you don't. Maybe you think it's too much work. Or maybe you think you just need a little help. I don't know. But I think it would be helpful for us to know that, and then maybe we could reach out and it'll be a way to get more paramedics in the system. I think that, rather than have them drop to AMTs, I think we'd be better off if we could get them to go up instead of down.
And they can file for voucher for reimbursement through the state too, either the agency that pays for them to go or the individual.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a financial issue, and I get that because it's hard. Sometimes it's just hard to come up with the money to do it.
Dr. Bombard did say that UVM, Elizabethtown Community Paramedicine Program or paramedic program is going to be going to a January start time and running a year cycle.
I'm moving to, instead of 1 day a week, 2 days a week, and one of those days, actually Jack could talk about this more. One of those days will be a hybrid, so they don't have to be in class, so we're hoping, and it'll be like a morning or half day, so like the other half they still could be working, which is kind of nice and not a burden for either the student or the agency, so. Applications just started coming in for that, because I sat in that meeting the other day, and, they'll know, by December 1st, I think is when they start picking their people. I have any other, Ed Corps to report out? I have a question, Paul and anybody in the South, where are you guys, who's the core sponsor down there?
Queensbury.
Queensbury's got us, okay, good.
The Saratoga County one, their BOCES is hosting an EMT class at the Warrensburg High School. So that one is integrated into the school, so that'll be a new program that they're starting. So it'll be interesting to see the results of that.
Can I cut in for a second? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Yeah, can you back up 1 second on the slide? There you go. Okay. Hi, everybody. How we doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm busy, but it's okay. So I am the core-sponsor liaison in the Queensbury EMS one, core-sponsor. So that EMT refresher in Granville, which is coming, I believe it's November 4th it starts. It's also an EMT original too. Just so you know that. And also at the medic program, I won't be with the next cohort. I'm just going to finish up this cohort, and then I'm closing that book on my, I don't want to say career, because I know I failed retirement. I'm going to keep doing things, but I do know that they're aiming to start it, as Patty said, either January or beginning of February, and it should go about a year also. I'm not too much into the planning part of that, but all I do know is that they are looking to do I think it's like Tuesdays and Thursdays, I think, or maybe 1 day virtual, but I don't have that much information on that. So sorry, Patty, I can't give you too much info there. I'm just not really quite in that planning process. You do have the one that's currently going on, which is slated to finish in May, I believe, is like the end of course date, if I remember correctly. And in the Queensbury EMS core sponsor, we're probably going to be starting one probably the beginning of February. Still going through the trying to put things together for that. I don't have an exact start date just yet.
Okay, great. All right, next.
You can talk about this because that's you, Amanda.
I blame them.
Me.
Nothing to
You're
do.
not-
There's nothing
you don't have a
to
pack
go for the
coordinator,
But if you
yeah.
don't have one, you should have one. If you need to know how to get one.
So again, just bringing this up for those who listen, we have the Matters program and the naloxone for first responder agencies. If anybody wants to participate in that, please reach out to our office. We are happy to mail you some Narcan. I'm working on redoing our contract to add in a couple other sites to be able to ship to directly, so that way it's not coming to our office and then we're having to package it up and send it to you. It can just go where we need it, and looking for a couple hubs on the side of the mountains to be able to send it to. I know we've sent some to Mark Spezio at Cambridge, and I'm pretty sure I've got to send him some more. But the Matters program, simply even just doing a leave behind program with your agency. And you don't have to talk to them. You don't have to try to get them to go into recovery. You're just leaving them the tools that if they decide that they want to get help and to get away from their addiction, they can. The Matters kits have a dose of naloxone. They have 2 doses of naloxone, xylazine test strips, fentanyl test strips, and then they come with a little information card in there that will give them a referral to get into treatment. And we all know the step to go to treatment is on them. But if we can put the tool one step closer to them, hopefully it'll decrease in the amount of overdoses we're all getting burned out going to. Next slide. Maybe do this. Yep.
So the learning management system. So we recently started adding some ALS pharmacology education. So far, we've done a review of pharm analgesics, diabetic medications, and I just uploaded Narcan and Zofran. I'm going to keep uploading the ALS pharmacology lectures until they're all done. I'm collaborating with Hospice of Jefferson County to do a lecture on treating hospice patients from the EMS perspective. I'm also working with the Epilepsy Foundation to do an education on epilepsy. Matt Yelton has done a BLS capnography lecture. It just needs to be recorded and uploaded. We are hosting EMS Education Day, November 16th at North Country Community College. It's $20. That just covers lunch because unfortunately we can't pay for that. I am doing a webinar on November 19th with the Q Center for gender and sexuality, and Spring Fling 2025 is April 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Awesome.
Those are the flyers for it.
Cool.
You might as well keep on going.
All right, so the CQI initiative, so every month we review charts, 5 charts from random agencies, 5 higher call volume agencies are reviewed quarterly, lower call volume agencies are selected once a year. I end up doing about 20 agencies a month, give or take a few. So in July, I reviewed a total of 67 charts, 38 from North Country region, 29 from Mountain Lakes. There were 4 agencies that didn't have any chart uploads. We gave some grace in July because of the Nemesis
Schematron update.
August, I did 73 charts, 32 North Country, 41 Mountain Lakes. 2 of those charts were sent to the agency medical directors for further review. And then in September, I did 68 charts, 30 North Country, 38 Mountain Lakes, and there were 6 agencies with no charts uploaded. So when I'm reading a chart, if I think it needs more review, I flag it in the spreadsheet, and then our team has a meeting and we decide what we're going to do with that chart from there, whether we just bring it to the agency's attention or if we think it needs to go to the medical director for further review.
So the agencies with no updated charts, does that mean they have open PCRs on their iPads, or they just didn't have any calls?
They didn't have any charts in the system for that month.
Could be a combination.
Yeah. We are tracking what agencies are not uploading charts. If you're not uploading charts, the state is starting to issue SODs for not uploading charts. So we are reaching out to those agencies. Everyone should be getting an email with a number of charts that your agency had that month in the state bridge to make sure it matches with the number of charts that your agency populated in your charting software.
Is it, any feedback sent to the providers?
So we do, I don't know who the providers are. It doesn't pull, it just pulls their EMT number. So the overall.
Sometimes it doesn't even pull that.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't pull that. So I just, all those on the bottom there, it goes on like a little box graphic on the review. And then on the bottom, I write a summary of like, this chart was missing an assessment. This chart had a really bad narrative. This chart had a lot of grammatical errors.
Or this chart was really great. Keep up the good work.
Yeah,
It's not all negative.
No, it's not all negative. I did put a blanket error, a blanket note on all of them that I'm sending out now is for spelling and grammar. It's really bad. It's real bad. So, if your agency gets one, the first sentence is going to be about spelling and grammar, and then anything specific to your agency after that is going to be bolded.
And they go to the agency, so.
Yeah, I
like,
send it to the primary contact we have on file for the agency.
It's good that you put it in there, because that's how I went back and looked at those PCRs that you sent us.
It gives you the run number and the type of call, and I believe the date of call is in there too, so you can pull that chart up to look at it. So you'll know what charts I looked at.
Could you send us a list? So for my QI group, my people are not bringing that stuff to QI group. It would be helpful if we had that information to discuss in QI group. So can there some way you can send that information to
I
me?
think we can do like an overall county view
Yeah,
of the agencies.
that would be
reviewed.
helpful.
Your county, these are the
Yeah,
things
if
that
you
we found.
didn't turn in any EPCRs and you had runs, I want to know why you didn't do that. Because it's going to affect your CMEs down the road, your ability to be a CME student. If you don't turn the stuff in.
Well, and it's beneficial too for those that are core
Right.
sponsors, because you can, or educators, because you can look and see, oh, well, this is where there's a,
There's a
maybe
gap.
this is an educational lab, so
Right.
we can work into our class. So yeah,
Right.
I think we can do like an overall
Right.
umbrella of the county of these were the issues.
Yep,
We found
that would be
should
helpful.
I'll help you with that whenever you're back in the office.
Give me a couple weeks.
Just-
I'm teaching a lot of stop the bleed classes to posties the next 2 weeks. It's kind of nuts. I think it's almost
Just
200
strenuous.
students. So for the third quarter, the biggest one was complete assessments. And a complete assessment we have defined as pertaining to the history of present illness or the chief complaint. So if you have a difficulty breathing patient, they should have lung sounds assessments. If it's an abdominal pain, they should have an abdominal assessment. So that has been the biggest flag in every single one that I've done every quarter.
Well, and one of the big things too is like, if you didn't write it, you didn't do it. And some of the interviews that we've had with providers that have been CQI issues, and we've said, well, why didn't you do this? Oh, I did. Well, then why didn't you write it down that you did it? Because if you didn't write it, you didn't do it. If you get called to the court over that, you're screwed. They're not gonna take your word over it. They're gonna look at that piece of paper in front of you and say, why didn't you write it down? Anything else? Any questions for the program agency? Is there anything you need from us or would like from us with the reason?
Okay.
If anyone has any education topics, send them my way. I'm always looking for
Oh,
ideas.
speaking of that, which I didn't really realize, before this, you know how the state has its own vital signs academy stuff? Well, theirs is kind of sort of along the same login, and it's very confusing where theirs has way more, no, that's probably not good English, has much more courses and whatnot that our providers could be using. Can you just speak to that, please?
Yeah. So recently we uploaded all of the inter-facility guidelines trainings to our learning management system. We have had a number of people contact us because when they're logging in to our learning management system, it's taking them directly to the states. So I did do a video on how to change that, just to make, it's really hard to describe over the phone. That will be going on our YouTube channel probably next week, maybe. And I'm uploading at least 2 pieces of content a month. Some months it's more.
Can you also send us, that I didn't know that until you just spoke it, the address or whatever to the YouTube channel?
Yep, it'll be tied to our website too. We'll have it right on our website to
That'd be great.
help as well.
Anything we can do to make it easier for our people to be, keep up on their stuff. Okay, anything else, you guys?
Nope.
Dr. Bombard, do you have a moment to speak to us about the REMAC meeting? Tiffany?
Look at her photos before and now her video's gone, so she might be trying to
Okay,
get back on.
all right, we'll leave that and come back to it here in a second. There was a whole lot of additional stuff besides the approval of those agencies. Air medical reports, LifeNet.
Hey Patty, this is Andrew with LifeNet of New York out of the Ticonderoga base. Just want to let people know that we are doing a trial with the AutoPulse NXT. Our crews are going through their final training this week, and then we should be in service with that on the aircraft. Not every aircraft in New York will have one. We're the only ones in our state and there's 9 others throughout the country. So after a 1-year study, we'll review and report information back to everybody. We're also going through some landing zone review and looking at some of the pre-designated landing zones that we have throughout the region. So if anybody has any suggestions or questions about their landing zones, let me know. We're looking for year-round guaranteed cloud access, sort of as a backup use landing zone or a default. I'm also looking into doing a yearly skills review and sign off. I wanted to offer to open up our base for anybody who needed to get sign off. I don't have dates yet, and I'll reach out to the county coordinators. But we have CIC that works for LifeNet, and we have all the equipment. So might as well offer that to everybody. That's all I have.
Okay, is UVM on here? Didn't see him. Okay. Tiffany, are you back yet? Somebody maybe text her.
I did. She said her mic failed.
Oh, all right. From the remake, I really don't think there was, let me just go backwards here. She talked about that, talked about the education there, she talked about all that stuff. Kind of got on a soapbox about a call we had on the Northway when the UVM ambulance not coming to the scene. And the other thing, the other thing is, I also kind of got on a soapbox about, you know, when we go to a hospital, they say, well, why'd you bring them here? So it's also tied in with the same tractor trailer accident. The long and the short of it is, we are, as EMS providers, trying to go to the right hospital. And a lot of times we know that at certain hours, there's not a transport team available from our local hospital, so the patient may sit in the ER overnight. If they have a broken hip, why not go to the first hospital to begin with? And then to come to find out that some of the hospitals don't have the services that we thought that they used to have. So Tiffany is going to be updating something we were using for the World Games to help us EMS providers say, okay, well, maybe I need to go to this hospital instead of another hospital for orthopedics or thoracic or neuros. So that you might see coming out. I think UVM, I've already heard from right after the meeting, I already got an email. It's a resource that we should be able to have. They are a New York State certified ambulance and they do carry blood products. And why can't they come to the scene? So we've also discussed that at the last meeting as well. So anyway, we might see some better avenues and additional resources other than what we don't always get. Andrew, do you want to speak to what you mentioned at our Essex County meeting about LifeNet?
Sure. So in respects to weather conditions or if our aircraft is down for maintenance or anything, we previously have had a signed agreement with some of the Ticonderoga and Lamoille agencies that they can pick us up if they're doing a hospital to hospital transfer and they need the critical care services. We are also working to sort of put a more standardized policy in place just to increase the awareness for people that you're more than welcome to call us if we're not able to go by air and there's a way to pick us up at the base. We will bring all of our equipment, our blood products, the ventilator, load it into the vehicle and go directly to the scene, especially for calls similar to the recent tractor trailer. We also have for good weather, flyable days, we have a policy in place with Albany Medical Center and Syracuse Upstate, where we will dispatch the closest aircraft to go directly to the scene to support people. And if there is an entrapment in a life or limb situation, we will pick up the ER trauma surgeon from Albany or Syracuse and fly them to the scene with their equipment as well. So you'll end up with 2 aircrafts, multiple crew members, trauma surgeon, and that's accessible to anybody who needs it anytime we're able to get the aircrafts up there.
Awesome. This guy was trapped for 2 hours and, like the fact ambulance, whatever they're called. We were redirected to E-Town Hospital to link up with them, and if they'd come directly to the scene, we would have had him in almost an hour closer to the UVM than going, stopping, trading him off, all that stuff. So hopefully some new conversation will come out of that. And what really kind of sort of annoyed me, the New York State certified ambulance, so come on. Anyway, I'll get off. I did very good earlier.
You did. I was.
Wait a minute. Okay, updates. I will be updating the committees. The goal is to have 1 member from each county on the committees. With that being said, if there's any committee that you have a particular shine to be on, please let me know. And there's a list of the committees. The executive committee has met a few times since the August date, and I'll talk about that in a second. Ed Court Committee, Paul, do you have anything? It says here the Heart Association and core sponsorships. We kind of already gone over that. The Ed Corp right now is not active and is not able to teach classes right now. Through with what am I trying to say? The state won't acknowledge that we are an Ed Corp. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Old business, conflict of interest and whistleblower forms. Are the people who still haven't done them yet?
Very, very minorly. I think I hit a couple people today,
Super,
but I'll follow up. There's only like 1 or 2 people.
awesome. So please get those done. Member terms, so, I got it. I am so prepared tonight. So, one of the resignations that we received was from John Baja, but his term was also coming up. It was expired already, but they can stay on the council as long as there's no replacement for them. Go ahead.
Yeah, I moved somebody forward, so I moved Todd Collins forward and forwarded his resume. He had expressed interest in joining.
So I'm okay with putting that forward. Do we need to vote on that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have an issue with that? Okay.
All his stuff should have been in there. We had Scott was his REMSCO recommendation, which was a requirement. Robbie DeMarsh was his second recommendation. His resume was in there, which had his statement of like why he wanted to be on the board, which was the other requirement, so.
Okay, we don't need a roll call vote for this, I'm sure, right?
No, just need
Okay.
a motion in a second.
Could I have a motion to accept the resignation, or sorry, the person put forward? Scott makes that motion. Is there a second? First name?
James.
I was gonna call you Jim. James made the second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Great. I'd like to accept the resignation of John Baja with thanks and with regret, even though he's filled his terms. He definitely was a voice at the council meeting, so I truly appreciate it. And I'd like to make that motion. Is there a second? Unanimous second, all in favor? Perfect, thank you.
Who seconded it?
It was a unanimous second.
Okay.
All right, so terms ending. So Clinton County, you are good to go. Essex County is good to go. We just filled John's spot. The rest of your county, Franklin County is good to go. Pat, hold on. Warren County, the only thing to keep on your radar is, Ashley's comes up in 2025, but that's just the end of her first term. So have conversation with her to see if you want her to fill a second term. In Washington County, Adrian, same thing. Oh, no, she's at her end of her second term in June. So start working on that. And that way, what I'd like to do is keep the council full, because if we don't, then it's hard to make quorums and then we can't get business done. Awesome. Any questions on that? Okay, any other old business? Yeah. New business, minimum equipment requirements.
So the state says what you have to have on your ambulance, REMAC says the quantity for your ALS equipment. So we just updated the ALS minimum equipment list to reflect the changes from the protocols that went into effect in July. No.
Yes, July.
Yes, in July. But also there were some things like it still had innovation equipment under the AEMT level, and that's not applicable anymore. So the REMAC did approve it. The REMSCO just needs to approve it now.
A question. Are the
Yes.
antibiotics in the new protocols required to be carried or?
They are optional
I
now.
think on that list, they're listed as required, because my supplies guy emailed me, was like, basically was like, what's that, we weren't gonna do antibiotics. I haven't looked at it personally, he emailed me, I said, no, I think they're optional, so.
Yeah, they're optional.
Okay.
Are they labeled optional?
Hmm?
Are they labeled that way?
I believe so at the state, they're optional because they have to let the REMAC know that they're doing it.
Are you double checking there, darling?
Yes.
Okay. Tiffany, while we're waiting for her, are you back at all?
She said her team's crashed.
All right,
so
well, then
I
we
don't
got it
know.
covered anyway. Just wanted to give her one last word.
Yeah, they're listed under optional.
Okay, maybe it was around old list or something, I don't know, you can't read.
Everything that's
It's
new
from his
is
fault, so.
highlighted in
Yellow.
yellow.
Okay, thank you, I'll take a look at it myself and smack him.
Everybody know what we're talking about, right? Everybody's got the list. It's kind of good because I use it for also the classes too, to make sure I'm mistaken. Okay, so,
Okay.
oh, hey Tiff.
Hi, and my mic
Hi.
works now. Yay. Sorry
So we
about that.
kind of gave a
My team's
report, but
completely
it,
crashed. I had to like restart everything.
that's okay. So we kind of gave a report, but do you want to like highlight anything that,
Good job giving that report. I don't know. Does anyone have questions? It was a pretty bland meeting.
gotcha.
We'll take it.
Moving on.
Okay, 2025 meeting schedule. So today, because of the way the meetings are ran for the REMAC, the meeting was over with like at, I don't know, quarter to 3 or 3 o'clock, the absolute latest today. So there's that. Then these folks stayed until 5 o'clock when we had our meeting. In my opinion, we would get more, maybe I'm wrong, maybe you like the 5 o'clock time. I guess that's what I'm asking. Would it be easier on people if we moved it even to 6 versus the 5? And if we move, do the doctors still like 3 o'clock, or could they get more of their day in, like in the office, and move it a little bit later? I'm not sure what the thought process would be for them. But I just want to get some feedback. Do you like 5? Do you want it later? I'm really open to whatever you guys want.
I prefer to stick with 5.
Okay. 5 is good? Okay. All right, cool. And then, maybe the doctors want to meet a little bit later, or these guys can just hang out for a couple hours.
I'll just bring food next time.
Okay.
I brought you a snack.
She did bring me a snack.
Okay, good.
That's good.
All right, so then so the schedule Mondays are still okay? It's kind of like established, right? Okay. All right, there you go.
And one location, are we good with one Lewis location, or do we want to go back to the 2?
All right, there we have it.
It would definitely be handy.
What's that?
I mean, it's like you do boats and having the two locations like I did before, I think it's nice if you can do the two locations as long as the AV is good, you know?
I know in Queensbury was there a few times, we read a lot of lips, but we didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue. I mean, if you can get that narrowed down, I think two locations is nice.
Okay. All right,
That's
we'll
everybody here.
definitely talk about it. Of course, I like this spot, but it's easy for Clinton County. You gotta come cross lots for you guys. And then you guys have to come a little bit cross lots too, right? From Washington County.
It doesn't matter where I go. I think that it works better when we meet as a group. It's easier to hear us. It's easier to keep it focused. I think that, like, it was very hard to hear the docs today talk because the sound is not always clear. And so, sometimes you have to ask questions that, they've already spoken to because you can't really get it. I think the same is true of our group, that we do better when we meet as a group together face to face to be able to resolve issues. And I understand that travel is the big problem. Is it possible to use different venues? So like, you go on a cycle and we meet at a spot every single time. So not, maybe twice a year, you don't have to travel. So one time we go to Queensbury and one time we go to Malone and one time we come to Clinton County and we come here. Where's the other one? Washington County. So, I think that if we have venues in those areas and that works for us and that works for everybody, some people will have to travel far one time, but not so far the next time. So maybe that's a workable solution so that we all meet together as a group and nobody has to travel all the time.
Okay, so let's talk about it. I need to come up with
We'd have to have set places where we can meet because we need to be able to set up our equipment. We need to have video, obviously, because not everybody will get there.
right. And I totally agree with you. It's, if we don't have great AV stuff, it's
worthless.
It's not really working. Okay, so we'll talk about that. Okay, so wait,
Yeah, you talk first.
Yeah. Okay, any questions, anything else besides what I'm gonna get into next? Okay, so the executive board, met like 2 or 3 times. And I met with Deb from the North Country REMSCO. I met with Brian down at the, Vital Signs, conference last week or whatever it was. So I just want to kind of make sure everybody's on the same as far as where we're at for Mountain Lakes. After we get done, I'm gonna basically fire some questions to Storm. She's gonna she has the answers. And then we're gonna, yes, you do. And then we're gonna listen to that end of it. Then we have Debbie from North Country, gonna do a presentation on some thought processes from that end of the world. So I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. And then quite frankly, what I would like to do, my goal is at the end of the meeting, is to be able to say, okay, this is what we're gonna do going forward. And, we need to do more research or whatnot, but we need to start, moving forward. Storm has done a heck of a job trying to keep the financial side under control. And as you'll see as we go through this, she's fighting an uphill battle. And we're just gonna go through the whole thing, right?
Fun. I only had another day in my week.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw some things out there, what she knows the answers to, and to bring everybody up onto the same page, okay? So Storm, can you tell us when we filed our last taxes?
So my belief is that we filed taxes in 2020 at some point. I have tax records from 2020, but that's all. I have nothing after that. We submitted our charity, whatever it is.
Hold on, wait. Don't get ahead of yourself. Okay, So, all right, let's go to the charitable filings.
So those were done through 2020. So I emailed those, or I sent them off in my mail, because I have them in my mail. And so those have gone. We are currently working on our current taxes. So H&R Block has been gracious enough to work on this. The only piece I am missing, which are Wojcinski and Company would like $1,500 to give me this piece of paper, which we've already paid for, because we caught up all of our bills with them in 2020. They'd like another $1,500 to give me our depreciation schedule, which I think is rather excessive. So I've got to reach out to them again and find out why they want more money and why they think that that's okay. I have the taxes, but it doesn't specify exactly what our depreciation schedule was at that point. And since then, all of that equipment is gone. You know, we got rid of all of the computers, we got rid of all of the furniture, basically. Oh, there's nothing, there's a few things in storage, which we're gonna get rid of in the next couple of weeks, and then we're gonna close the storage unit. So we really don't have anything at this point that's depreciable, but back in 2019 and 2020, we did. So I have to get that schedule, and then that will be the last piece to finish up those taxes and work on restoring our nonprofit status.
So right now, our not-for-profit status
It's
is.
revoked.
Right,
It's been revoked since 20, I want to say either the end of 23 or 24, I can't remember which.
which means we can't enter into a contract with New York State.
Right.
To contract yearly for our money. So, so the tax is not being filed since 2020. And our not-for-profit are two like hits against us, obviously, as far as our not-for-profit status and being able to work with the state. So not-for-profit status has been nullified or canceled. You want to talk to us about our workman's comp?
So we have workman's comp. They actually sent me a statement to say, did we want to renew it because it was going to go up? So we have had it all of 2024. I am not sure, I'm presuming that we may have had it in 2023 as part of when I reinstated our insurance with USI, that was part of the package. But I haven't been able to talk to Steve yet because he's been on vacation to see in fact that we've had it back to 23 when I took over.
So this, I'm not sure when this was dated. Right, so we don't know if something's changed. So I have a letter here dated May of 2022 that it says notice of penalty pursuant to section 52 of the workman's comp law. Employers that receive a penalty violation of the workman's comp law are barred from bidding, blah, blah, blah. We can't anymore contract with the state. Since August 11th, 2021, the employer was required to provide workers' comp insurance for its employees. On February 3rd of 2022, the state insurance fund canceled the policy.
So I do not know. So remember, I didn't take over till September of 2022. That was the first I had my hands on the books. So I do not know what happened in 21 or 20, the first part of 22. I'm presuming because of COVID that it was not paid because all of the money they were getting, I believe, was going to salaries.
Going to where?
Salaries.
Oh, so the thing that makes my gut turn on this one is there's a $2,000 penalty per day that we don't have workman's comp. So as soon as Steve gets back, we need to get that figured
He's
out.
back today, so I'm expecting to hear from him tomorrow.
Okay, good.
So the penalty associated with the letter Patty has is for 4,500.
Okay, so
500 days.
Huh?
How many days do you last, you know, or?
I don't know, because I don't know what Travis did with any of it.
So we gotta figure that out. This is my biggest angst, my biggest worry right now, is this one. So as soon as we find that, Storm finds that out, we will let folks know. So can you cover what we owe to other folks, please?
Can I what?
We have outstanding.
What we owe other folks? So currently our outstanding debt is, oh, here, I could just send these around. It would be much easier. So basically, we have High Peaks, which we owe $7,800 to. We're down from the original, we started out at like 102 was what the original bill was. It was paid down to, I think, 82 when I took over in 22. We have enough money to pay this off with our last CPR money. So I'm going to probably send that check out tomorrow. I do not know what our insurance is going to cost us because we are looking to drop our policy coverage since we don't have a building anymore. We don't have office equipment. We don't have any salaries. We don't have any of that stuff. We don't teach courses anymore, so we don't need to keep coverage for all our off-site teaching that we were doing. So at Adirondack Medical Center and all that stuff, we were paying for coverage for those. We will not have that. So we will drop down to probably a general liability policy and an officer and director's policy. I do not have quotes for either one of those yet because Steve is not back yet. And I have sent out a questionnaire, or I reached out to somebody who does general liability for me for my Heart Association, Clinton County's Heart Association cards for our training site. So once I get that, that's not onerous. So I'm hoping that we're down from 5,000 to 2,000, maybe even less than that. But our plan is to keep workers' comp going for one more year until we get all of our stuff resolved. And to keep our general liability and the officers and directors insurance. That should be all we should need to pay for. And that will take care of our insurance payment, but at this point, I don't know what it's gonna entail. Certainly not the $5,900 that is paid, hopefully.
So
We owe, CVent is the other big bill, which we have not addressed. I spoke to them and told them that currently we didn't have the money to pay for it. It was a contract entered to that we didn't know about. And we would pay them, but it would be a while. So that's $10,000 that we will have to gradually work toward clearing off, just like we did High Peaks. The instructor money, the $7,925 that we owe instructors is currently in the education fund. And we have easily enough money to cover that. Because that's all our normal bills. We currently have standard bills that we pay, but currently they're coming out of other funds. We'll just say it. All right. Bills that I paid since 8/20. So CPR cards is our biggest thing that we pay for. We have a PayPal account that we pay for. It's like 30, I don't know why this is up here twice. 3209. It costs us, I think, a month for that. So basically, that's what our bills are. We won't have the storage unit any longer, which will be a $202 savings a month. We do have QuickBooks, which currently runs us $193 with the payroll. Once we get rid of payroll off that, that will drop back to probably $100 a month.
So the rent isn't on here right now. Right? The rent of the storage is not on here right now.
It's on me.
Oh.
Not. I paid a couple of months out of money when I had money to pay for it, but it was just easier to put up.
Awesome. So this is not unusual for Storm to be pulling us along like that, just so we're aware. And I do have from McNeil, this was August 21st, that we do have coverage for our general insurance.
Yes.
Until November 29th.
Yes. Yep. We're good.
So I just want to also touch base on, you see that 10,000 for the CON money? That is not ours. That's just to cover what just happened tonight.
Right.
And then Storm will send back whatever we don't use on the stenographer back to that agency.
So there are two CONs here.
Oh, that's right.
This is covering. One is Dana Morris, which is now a municipal service. They expanded their municipal operating territory, is what they did. That's how they did theirs. Because originally they were going to do a transfer of service, but their transfer of service, the ambulance they were transferring service to them for was had already surrendered their certificate. You can't transfer after you've surrendered your certificate. You gotta love them. So we went to the state and the state said, just expand your municipal territory. It was easier to do it that way. So that paperwork is all in the state. I believe that they're all set. Their ambulance is lettered. It is set to go. So they took over Lion Mountain. So now the entire town of Dannemora is covered by the village of Dannemora's ambulance service. So that was taken care of. However, they will need a hearing in 2 years. So do I give the money back to them and then ask them for more money, or do we just keep the money? They have not asked for it, so I'm I could give it part of it back, but I'm reluctant to do that, thinking that, will we get more money down the road? So I'm struggling with this. We have $55 in the account, which is basically, but I will tell you that the stenographer that comes for these costs us over $500. Yeah,
2 minutes.
for 2 minutes of work. Yeah, absolutely. Because they have to have money to get here. And then they have to have money to get home, and then they have to type up a thing, even though the last report was disastrous. So if this one is not right, I'm sending it back to him and making him fix it. I didn't make him fix the last one. This one he's gonna fix. I'm not gonna deal with shoddy work anymore. I can't deal with that. The conference, the AHA funds are the money that basically we have used to pay off all of this debt for the most part. So it's been invaluable to us in terms of getting rid of that, getting rid of that piece. And I think that once I add the money, I'll add $2,000 to the REMSCO account, and then that will pay off High Peaks. And they should be good because we currently have $5,000 in that account. Remember, I still have to buy cards. So we make about a third of the cost of the cost when we bill out our cards. We make a third profit on that money. So it's not a bad reimbursement, but it's the one thing that's keeping us alive. So keep that in mind, that as you go through this. And then the education fund will be the education fund. I think it's reasonable to keep a couple of $1,000s in there if we are going to continue to work with this, because eventually, hopefully, we will be doing some other stuff with education, and we may want it. And just keep.
But in order to get our Ed Corp back, we have a lot.
Well, we have, in order to get our Ed Corp back, what Drew wanted us to do was go through QuickBooks and see what the state had actually paid us with. My understanding with Mountain Lakes, and correct me if I'm wrong, they collected tuition and only collected, they didn't collect reimbursement from the state, right? They just collected.
Agencies were supposed to reimburse,
just for the final practicals, right?
Right.
Not for.
Yeah.
They didn't get the
agency. And then the agencies were supposed to.
Was responsible for billing the state. So I need to go back and check all those numbers. And then if those are clear and we can show that to Drew, then he may reinstate us. But Queensbury is doing it. So do we want,
Right, and we've already,
that would mean we'd have employees again.
Right, and we'd have workman's comp.
And we'd have
And
workman's
the other
comp.
part of it is, is it water over the bridge with some of our instructors already? That, they're gonna go back to,
Right.
Mountain Lakes. So this is me trying to recap all this. So we can't get, so our state contract normally with the state would be about $2,500 or $25,000. Normally, okay, that's for the REMSCO, the council, okay? So in order to get that, we have to get our 20, 21, 22, and 23 taxes filed. We have to get our not-for-profit status back. we'd have to get our workman's comp in play and hope that we're not gonna be fined a large amount of dollars if we had a gap somewhere between when Storm took over and when we no
And
longer.
I filed all that paperwork with workers' comp. I've not heard back from him. I've not heard a word from him since I turned it in to Randy. So
Right.
we'll see what he has to say.
There's that as well. The only thing that's sustaining Mountain Lakes right now is the Heart Association. And every time Storm files for a bridge with the state, correct?
Right, so we can file for final practicals for the bridge course, and we also get reimbursement from Northwell Health for the students that are in the class. I'm not sure what we get per student, because,
There's a couple classes you have to do in person, and Jack Timms usually does that, like a 12-week class and a couple like.
yeah, I do that lab. So I do that lab on my own, so I don't have to charge anybody, and I'm not employed, because I'm employed by the county, and I'm a board member, and I'm a CSE, so I
That must be.
cover that pretty easily, and get it done. So, but I host them in Plattsburgh, which is the dilemma, of course. We're gonna see, depending on how many people are in the groups, we're gonna try and move people around, but there's only 2 in this group. So one of them is in Plattsburgh and one of them is in down in either Queensbury or Warrensburg somewhere.
So that's the part that Northwell Health pays. is for
That, they pay
new
for
classes.
that lab.
Yeah.
They basically pay for the lab and any other support that we give the student. So they give us, I think it may be $600 a student, I'm not sure. And I'm waiting to see what they're gonna send me this next time, because they're way behind. They're behind with their payment too. So once we get that money, we will have more money. It'll be a little more money. So if there are 10 students in this class, that's $6,000. That's a pretty healthy reimbursement. We get $200 per student, I believe, for final practical skills exams. I think that was the latest figure I looked at. And then, so that's another thing. So I have 4 students to bill out for final practical skills exams. I have the 2 that are coming up in January, and then whatever this next.
So going forward, so once the bridge is done.
We won't get any money from that.
It's like sooner than later, then our only money will be the.
But hopefully you will have your contract reinstated by then. It's going to be another year.
Right, this is something we need to talk about, right? I also have a bill from,
Or drum
yeah.
that I got the other day.
$1,800,
Down there.
right?
$1,800. I need to go back and look and see and make sure that that was not paid, because I've got all those bills in my thing, but I haven't looked at it.
And then we also have one from a lawyer.
Who?
FCC Storm in this. You got this, let's see, hold on. Talking about legal, I have attached the open voice for legal services provided to Mountain Lakes before it merged with Fort Drum. Our contact was Travis, however, he is no longer, obviously. So this is a $920 bill that's outstanding from them.
For what?
What's that?
What's it for?
What services?
Legal services,
Yes.
but
We have no idea what it was for.
So, I don't know, it was for Mountain Lakes, so you'd have to reach out to the company.
I feel like one of them was a detailed bill though.
So can you send that to Storm and myself, please?
I think
No, I mean, but Storm is looking at me like I don't know what, she's,
I haven't seen that.
all right, can you send that to Storm then,
Yeah, I think.
Please.
Yeah.
whoever? So, my point is, and I am the chair, so I'm directed by you guys, so and I'm gonna have Debbie chime in here in a second, but what the point is that we have a lot to go through still to get stuff back if we choose to go that route, or do we want to think about another avenue? Does anybody have any questions right now on what we just went over? Yes.
Can you just clarify what we owe Stevens is in the May meeting?
So it is 9,278.
Because in May, you reported that we owe them 19.
Well, I thought we did, but the last bill I got from them said 9. So I think that there's another year on this contract. It was a 3-year contract that he did in 22. So that would be 22, 23, 24. I believe that this is 23's payment. And I believe that there's a payment for 24 that he did not sent because I told them at the time, we did not have money, but he did not send me a corrected bill. So, you know, again, this is like pulling teeth to get people to do what you need them to do. So originally, the original bill was 19 when I originally got it. And then they dropped it to 9 for this. I believe that was either this year or last year. I'm not sure which is.
So the
I
9
clearly
isn't
told
just
them,
the
you know,
current bill.
that's the current bill that we've got. Will there be another $9,000 because it was a 3-year contract? I don't know.
I had given this lady your email, so it wasn't from us, it was from Alicia Ben. I just forwarded it to you.
Okay,
And it says in the comment, multiple telephone conferences and email correspondence with client hearing offers regarding the CON issue
Oh, CON issue.
from 2021.
So that possibly could have been paid out of the CON money we collected. Or should have been.
Should have.
So, if you kind of do the math, we're in the hole by like $400. And that's only if that $9,000 again for next year doesn't come up again. So, all right, any questions
Can we find the contract or have them send us one?
for CVET? Contract
Is it
for
in that electronic thing that Travis put all the records in?
It could be.
I remember you looked and found where we got canceled the other day.
Yep, I found that, and I can look and see if we have the CVET. I will say some of the stuff from that whole 21, 22 period to when.
Made it in something,
It's-
yeah.
It's, yeah. And Storm can attest to that too, that
okay, this was, okay, I do remember getting this. So this is a consult. So he did a consult, apparently, this was a lawyer consult that he did with Offit Kerman, a law office, I'm presuming either somewhere in Queensbury, Warrensburg, maybe Albany. He tended to go to Albany for things, right, Zach? I think he went to Albany for a lot of
It
stuff.
looks like it was Charles Narco who was his friend who
It
was the
says
attorney.
Columbia, Maryland.
Columbia, Maryland?
They might have had a local office.
Really? They probably do. Yeah, this is their accounts receivable.
Okay, so that should show
We
up on
have-
our
We probably
list.
have enough money to pay them.
But let's get it on the list so that we have a.
Yep.
accurate- Okay. Okay, any questions? Okay, can we get Deb on the,
Dr. Bombard looks like she has her hand raised.
yes, dear?
So in synopsis, how much money do we owe to the world? Total.
Total? We
Yeah.
owe,
$25,008.71.
oh my God, 7805,
What'd you get, Michael?
1.
$25,008.71.
And that's counting this one, 900?
920, and then if we owe
And 1800.
Fort Drum, we owe them $1,800, right? I believe is their total. So that would be 3, that would be
What was your lawyer?
18.
$920.
So
27.
99 would be $18,080. No, 18,803.71. That's our total.
Michael?
27,728.71.
What have you got? You're concluding the instructors, which we have money for. That's in a separate account. Don't include the instructor money.
Well, our total debt to the world is truly 27,000 now.
Till that's paid, that's that.
Until that's paid.
Okay, did they answer your questions, Tiffany?
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a
Okay.
question.
Yes, go ahead.
Technically, 2 questions. One, what exactly was that C-vent again?
It was the system that Travis used for the conference for IAC, for the conference to get certificates for people and to track people in their classes, I believe.
Okay. I had a feeling that was it. So and we owe what, 9 something thousand?
Well,
roughly, yeah.
Rough, okay. And we think we may have one more year on that, correct?
Yes.
All right, so I believe I saw advertisements, there's gonna be another conference, what do call PAT now?
Yes.
Do we know who is I guess,
E5
lead-
support services.
E5, okay. If
Okay.
there's another year
Doug
on
Wilderman.
that contract, I'm assuming the software would still work. Have we thought about maybe speaking to E5 and saying, we have a year on this, could they use that if they pay us that money, and that'll knock off roughly $10,000 there?
Brilliant.
Well, Doug Wildermuth knows that we have this bill. He knows that so he called me about this because CVent contacted him when I told him there was no money. CVent contacted him to see what he could do to get them their money. And he was not particularly helpful in that, but I don't think he was planning a conference at that point. So I don't know.
Might be worth a try.
Yeah, because he was also part of the IAC, so I'm sure he understands the CVent thing, obviously. So maybe, hey, that's just an easy bill for him. It's already a contract made. I would think that can help out the logistics for him on his side, on the PAT side. PAT, right? Do I have that right?
PAC.
Yep.
PAC. I got so many algorithms. Yeah, see, I can't even get that right.
Whatever. You
I'm
got
sorry
it.
about that. Okay. And the one other thing, you said you have the monies for the instructor pay. Do we know when that will be paid out?
As soon as I can get it straightened out with QuickBooks. Jack, you're the only one who's turned back in their paperwork. So I could pay tomorrow. But the rest of the world, I don't have the right email and tax and bank information to send them their checks. So as soon as I get all that done, but I will try and get yours out to you because your stuff is in the system. You went in and added it. You got the email apparently.
Okay.
Not everybody has been able to get the emails out of QuickBooks for some reason.
Okay. Which email, which software, whatever was that for? Because maybe people just, I don't know what happened, but what software was that again? I did a couple different things. That wasn't that.
What are you using to pay the staff?
So we're using QuickBooks payroll system.
Okay, I know there was something else different a little while ago, but I remember so the QuickBooks thing was the most recent one, like was about a month or two
that was
ago?
your most recent one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I thought I'd try and keep it all under one umbrella so that we would be able to find records easier than having multiple services all over the place.
So maybe we could get Jack paid if he's done his due diligence.
I'll work on getting you paid by the end of the week, Jack.
Awesome.
Well, first you said tomorrow, end of the week or tomorrow?
I don't think it's gonna get tomorrow. Tomorrow, because I'm working till 3 a.m, that's not gonna work. I'll be lucky if I get to work.
Okay, so.
On the serious side, I'm not worried about it myself and that I'm more worried about everybody else too, because I'm not a selfish person like that. I don't know how many instructors you have on there, but if we can somehow.
Well, I sent out a request for email addresses for people, and I got absolutely no response because I don't have email addresses for everyone.
Okay.
Which is the other piece of this. I'll send it back out again and ask for email addresses because obviously if they can't get an email from me, they don't know to go in and fill out anything either or send me their information.
Okay, so this might be a thought. Jack, would you reach out to Storm? Because I think the instructors are in the south, correct? Are those instructors in the south?
Most of them are in the south.
So
there are a few of them.
Jack, could you reach out to Storm and maybe help nudge those folks down there so we can get that wrapped up?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, Storm, if you want to send me a list of the names of those people that you need to get back from, and if I have the contact info, I can send that back to you. We can play a little ping pong back and forth, and they could get notified so we can get it working. Okay.
Okay, great. Any other questions from anybody? Okay, can we bring Deb on then, please?
Yep. I just shot her a text.
Okay, so Debbie is the chair of the North Country REMSCO. And she presented me with an idea. We had a conversation. And of course, I can't speak for you guys, so I said, well, let's send it to the whole group and get their feedback. Okay? All right, thanks Debbie for joining us. Do we have a PowerPoint for her?
Yes.
Okay, give us 1 second.
There we go.
Okay, Debbie, you want to go ahead and start?
You're muted, Deb. You're muted. Can't find her on mute. I can read her lips. There you go.
I'm used to, I don't use Teams that much, so.
Hold on 1 second. Can we turn the volume up somehow on her? Please.
Try.
Thank you. We're just gonna turn up the volume a little bit here.
Okay, let me turn mine up as well.
All right, try speaking now.
Can you hear me now?
me now?
Twice.
Okay, that's all we can do then.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so this is a proposal for a North Country REMSCO Mountain Lakes reorganization plan. And I have confidential on here because it has not been reviewed by the North Country region, because we wanted to start with you folks and see what your thoughts were. So next slide, please.
You need to click on the slide. There you go.
So we're going to go over an intro, a rationale, some recommendations, some pros and cons, and the next steps and questions. So introduction, the North Country REMSCO, we were founded in 1987. We separated from Central New York at that time because we did not feel we were getting proper representation because we were rural and everything was more urban. And at the time it was not Eastern, but it was whoever came after Eastern before AMR. And everything was kind of wrapped around that. So we felt it necessary at that time to separate. So we are our own entity from FDRHPO EMS Program Agency. We have a total of 79 agencies, 45 ambulances, and 34 first responder agencies. We are currently 21 members with representation from each of the 3 counties, Jefferson, Lewis, and St. Lawrence. And again, this has not been presented to the REMSCO yet, so I would appreciate it if you would give me the opportunity to do that before you discuss it with anybody in our region. So some of the rationale for this was the loss of your not-for-profit status. You've not had a contract with New York State since 2020. So that's a potential loss of $100,000 in revenue. You're unable to voucher for 20, 21, 22, and 23. It's questionable on 24. In order to voucher for that, you need to get the state financial system, the SFS, set up. And it's not easy. There's a lot of stuff there. All your financial records have to be available to submit since your last filing. So your returns, your federal returns would be needed. You would have to get your not-for-profit status reinstated. And there's numerous other documents that are required in the SFS, a copy of your corporate structure, your board bios, a copy of your corporation papers and things like that. And then you do have some debt, and we know you loss of your core sponsorship and your regular classes and specialty classes. So some of this would have to change. I did have a brief conference call with Karen Taddeo. She's an EMS lawyer in Syracuse, to find out what her thoughts were, and some of this would have to be different, but this at least gives us something to discuss. Collaboration, collaborative transition between the two executive committees with the establishment of a committed transition team, and it would consist of representation from both regions. This is one of the things that was in question, letting you file for bankruptcy. I was told by Karen that if you file for bankruptcy and you just come underneath us and we form a new structure, that it's very possible that the debt would follow you. So we would have to look at doing something a little different. We do want to be able to keep both regions so that you do not lose your CMAC and your REMSCO representation. So we want to be able to keep that. We want to be able to keep the funds that the state is going to be giving us for recruitment, retention, and the scholarships. And the council seats based on population, it appears to me that we would probably end up now, after talking with some people, that we would probably end up with being able to keep our regular seats because one region would vote on something and then the other region. But again, until a lawyer is consulted and all that put together, I do not know the answer to that. That this was going to be the proposal for the seats with the expansion. However, I don't know that it's going to necessarily have to change. You may be able to keep your 20 and we may be able to keep our 21. So that's all in flux until a decision is made to proceed forward and obtain the services of a lawyer. So there are some pros and cons to this, obviously. Access to resources, I think, is a big pro. Better financial control with more impact. A well-executed merger can create strategic growth, show up our financial position, and help increase impact and mission success. It would avoid duplication of many things because we could work together. And move towards the state's overall goal of reducing the number of REMAC and REMSCOs without cutting services or creating a void. I think it's real important that our two regions, because we're so rural, that we work together and not end up us getting back in central New York or you going into an urban area. And if you look at a map, that would make us pretty strong in the state when we're dealing with things. The cons, inability to regain contract, inheriting financial problems. Again, we're not sure what will happen there. I'm hoping there would not be any culture clash because we would want to work together on this transition. Image concerns, if some people in Mountain Lakes are concerned with that. The composition of the board, again, we would work on that. And not as large a representation from each county may be a moot point because we may be able to keep the size of each of our boards as they stand right now. So the next steps would be approval by each council, support and approval by the New York State Department of Health, develop a detailed transition plan, and new bylaws would have to be done, and we would create a second vice chair position and hope that Patty would fill that and be the Mountain Lakes representative on our executive committee. Again, revision of the bylaws to include the new coverage area. We would have a continued commitment to the AHA Training Center. I know that's very important. I know you folks use Chris and his services to get your cards and you do a lot of CPR. We will not. Somebody all right? Continued commitment to that and encourage involvement on REMSCO committees. We have very active committees and we would want your representation to work on those. Questions that you may have or comments?
So it sounds like that we need to clean up the financial piece first before we can really do anything. Is that true?
I believe that may be the case, but again, until we talk to an attorney, I don't know the answer to that, but there is a strong that may have to happen, yes.
But to that end, it's just, tying up what hasn't been closed up. We can go forward. I think, so going forward, do you think that the state would contract with us or us under your umbrella without our financial stuff in taken care of?
It's not gonna be able to be called Mountain Lakes. That's the thing that we have to look at is, a different name. And again, the lawyer may say we have to have a new name altogether, not just North Country. It may have to be something different. But, the lawyer explained to me by keeping your name that the debt would follow you. You can't file bankruptcy for that. And they called it a surrogate something because they said in years past, companies would fail and they would close as ABC and the same people would open under DEF and their debt would be erased. Well, now the debt follows them when they do things like that. So that's the uncertain is if that debt would follow you when we join forces.
So if we set in play a plan that said, we would get that squared away as soon as possible. At the same time.
I know you guys have been working on that. I know that it's not for naught. I know you guys have been working on trying to take care of that.
Right, then the same time, get your folks, well, first of all, the second thing would be, is to get approval from both REMSCOs, if that were the case, and if that did occur, then the third step would be to put a transition team together.
Correct.
Okay, so that's what we need to decide on our end. And then come back to you with our decision so that you can start bringing it to your council.
Correct, because I'm concerned that if you don't take action at some point, the state's just going to take action, and it may not go where you can enter with us. That you may, I'm not trying to threaten. I'm not trying to say anything. I just know that the state has brought it up a few times. We've asked for more money and there's like, we're not going to give the REMSCOs any more money because we have REMSCOs that haven't even vouchered for years for their money. So I know that it's on Ryan's radar, but I don't know how high up it is with all the things that have happened since COVID. So hopefully, it's not where he's going to, take steps sooner rather than let us try to do something.
Any questions from this side?
How did your conversation with Ryan go about this?
So the question was asked, how did our conversation go with Brian when we sat down and talked to him? You can chime in, but he was very, he was encouraged that Mountain Lakes was doing something because he knows what's going on, more or less. He listened to the whole spiel and did not have any, actually, the one comment that he did make was, you could do this so that your councils could still maintain their representation and not have to change yours in particular. Ours would have stayed the same, but yours would have gone down in number. And he talked to us about keeping them the same. So that was good, particularly for her side. So it was a positive conversation with Ryan. Do you agree, Debbie?
Absolutely. I think he, was glad to see that we put some thought into this and that we were trying to put something together to try to salvage everything and keep you guys whole as a council and try to do what we could to help you.
Ed, do you have anything to add from a state perspective as the proverbial grand poobah from the state that's on the call?
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate that. The only thing I would suggest is certainly, engaging and communicating with not only Director Greenberg, our staff, and, we've got our finance people, Lynn Ferrugia and Michelle Malloy and Samantha Dans from contracting. So whatever plan that you guys are going to put forward, I would suggest that you over communicate, put that in writing, and send it to Director Greenberg, Deputy Director DeJura, Lynn Ferrugia, Samantha Dans, and Michelle Malloy, so that that information gets shared. And they're the ones who understand the state contracting and all the other components. And we would want to make sure that that is over communicated, so that it's clear and that you're not going back and forth, 68 different ways from the perspective of, wait, you forgot to do this and that. So there's obviously a lot going on here, and it looks like there's a lot of positive momentum. So I think that that's certainly good to hear. But from that perspective, I would over engage on that.
Okay, understood. Any other questions from this end? Okay, Debbie, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I'll
We'll be in
wait to hear
touch.
back from you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
So really, we're just talking about this 25,000 that we haven't needed or gotten for years, because Storm's been doing all the work for free. So it would take to load up Storm and pay somebody to do all that work that she's doing currently.
Correct. And it would get us a contract once we got to that point.
Well, I think you have to look at this a couple of different ways. One is there's going to be some additional fees as part of this. So there's lawyer fees that are going to be involved. So where's that money coming from? Because we're going to have to pay our share. So keep this in mind, guys, that this is not going to be, like we're going to get together and make a plan. It's going to have to be approved by the state. It's going to have to be approved by the financials. We're going to have to come up with money for lawyers to be able to put all this together. So be careful what you commit yourself to, because we don't have the rest of it paid off yet. If we want to file bankruptcy, that's one thing. And we're at liberty to do that, certainly. I don't know that that's necessarily going to help us in the long run.
One of the other parts of this is and I'm going to do what you guys direct me to do, but I don't know what our income is going to be, even if we get everything set up.
Yeah, I have not had a chance to do the.
I mean, right now, all we've got coming in is just the bridge and AHA and Storm covering some odds and ends stuff, which probably is more significant than what we understand. And what's going to be our income after this?
Well, hopefully if we can restore ourselves and we can get our nonprofit back, then why wouldn't we go back to the state for a contract, which is the other option, or go under the Fort Drum umbrella and be a separate, they already handle the program agency. So you also have the option of, will they also handle the REMSCO?
So we're separate. The Fort Drum, so FDRHPO and North Country REMSCO are two separate organizations.
Two separate organizations, yes. Right. So you would manage us so Fort Drum would manage us like they managed North Country, no.
No, we
could do it that way.
We'd be our own entity kind of still, right?
I mean, that's what we did.
Yeah, I'm my own entity.
We did that initially when they were managing, before we had money. So I think that her figures, we got money. I have to go back and see the year we got reimbursed for that. I don't think it was 2020. I think those funds were from 21 or 22. That $84,000 we got from the state from 2020. I'd have to go back and look.
Right, which we can dig that out.
You can dig that out.
So,
but the way that the structure works currently, So you guys are your own independent non-for-profit.
Mhm.
North Country, well, non-for-profit. North Country is its own independent
Non-for-profit.
And then FDRHPO is its own independent non-for-profit that holds the contract for the program agency.
So we would eventually stay the same.
But you don't hold North Country's REMSCO? You're not,
No.
you're not doing their REMSCO, okay.
We do their bookkeeping. We have an MOU with them to do
For their
their bookkeeping. And then we have some additional things that are not tied to the state contract that we do for them, that I, on the slip side, kind of slip in and do what I can do over here without getting caught.
And what were you saying, Dakota?
I said, it sounds to me like it's essentially a rebrand. We remain independent to a point, but we'd be rebranding ourselves, which I don't think is a bad idea.
And I think it's similar to what the Remo region is doing now with Aram. So they took over the Appalachian and Adirondack area. And what they do is they have one program agency, and then their REMAX and REMSCOs are their own independent entities still, but they meet together and they have 2 votes. So if we're voting on a minimum equipment list, North Country votes on it, Mountain Lakes votes on it. It's the same exact thing, but it's still the 2 separate councils. It still allows for you guys to have your representation in Albany, which I think is the big power play, because if you have 2 regions that are both very rural working together, and those CMAC and SEMSCO reps working together for the same common goal, that's gonna give us more power in the room.
And what's the 25,000 supposed to pay for?
Operational costs.
So give them something.
So what are the operations?
So your insurance should come out of that. Any, North Country pays their medical director. So you'd be able to pay Dr. Bombard to do more, or to even compensate her for all the work she does now. They reimburse mileage to their members if they travel to meetings.
Even like posting the meeting, so before that would pay the fee when we were at the hotel, that $200 for the meeting space, it would cover that.
Yeah, it'll cover everything but food.
Oh, it won't, okay.
Yeah,
No
it won't cover food, which is weird, but whatever. It can cover any of your, like if you're gonna do education for the region, you can use that money to pay for education in your region. Just cover stuff they pay for.
It'd be like protocol updates, right?
Yes, anything that is regionally specific. So I was talking to Dakota about this between meetings. So the program agency, we pull out of our contract money to pay for the overall protocol app. Anything that is regionally specific, so like the IFT stuff that is Mountain Lake specific, that technically should be coming from the REMSCO, and they pay for that. I mean, honestly,
Be
what I
careful,
think-
you guys. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Steph.
I would be careful about assuming that we would preserve our autonomy here. I think that's a strong assumption. I
What would
think
you
that
think differently?
by merging, we may merge and we may lose local control. So unless you really strongly delineate that somehow, that's a risk. And we're going to have to manage our books one way or the other.
So that would be part of the transition team's responsibility to say, okay, here's what our bylaws looks like, here's what our, here's, different processes look like. And if that's something that's not agreeable, then we just don't do it. We'd have this stuff in place before the transition happens.
Because I do understand what you're saying, Dr. Bombard, and that loss of autonomy. And I honestly think it'll be a concern from the other side too, from the North Country side, is that loss of autonomy.
To me, this is my underlying point to this whole thing is, I don't know what will pay the bills if we don't get this stuff, which is a big hurdle, in play. And let's say we don't get it in play and all we have left is the AJ and maybe the bridge for a little bit, then what covers it? That's my only.
Well, I think that we need to work toward getting back the reinstatement of our non-for-profit status and being able to get a contract with the state, because without that, irregardless of where we are not going to have any money to operate.
Correct.
So I think that even if we merge with them, they have their own REMSCO money that they manage. We are going to have our own REMSCO money to manage with, or we won't be able to be an entity.
But we'd be a different entity. We'd be a different entity. Mountain Lakes would cease to exist. We would be a new named, new everything.
Well, you have to be careful because I'm not sure what the regs are because we were established as a regional EMS council back in the day. So be careful of what you give up without having a firm plan in place. Because remember, this was all legislated years and years ago. So I don't know how that works either, Patty, and you may know better than I do. You sat on the council.
Well, what's in legislation in it's Article 30 Public Health Law is that there has to be REMAX and REMSCOs in program.
Right.
And I believe there is a count. There's no, and Ed might be able to correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe there is a count to how many there are. And it does state that they are to be reimbursed, but it does not state how much. It's left relatively ambiguous, which is a good thing, but also not a good thing. I do know that by filing if you file bankruptcy, there's chapter 11, which is reorganizational purposes, and chapter 7, which is liquidation of assets and dissolving, basically. With that, and I could be wrong, but I don't believe I am, the only two things that I know for certain will follow you is any workers' comp delinquencies and payroll. So I think that even if the conversations move forward and we entertain the idea of filing for bankruptcy, I think the key things that would need to be found out is, do we owe that 4,500 for the lapse of workers' comp, or was that taken care of, or did they wipe it because we got workers' comp back? So I think that is key to find out what the status is of that. And I think that is a big debt that needs to be taken care of before really most everything else.
I think at this point, to think about bankruptcy is kind of late. We should have, if we were gonna do it, it would have been before, because now everything's almost paid off.
Unless this workman's comp is a
Right.
big deal. But so we pay everything off, then what?
I think there's a couple of things that need to happen, which didn't happen under Travis. One is we need to be more responsive, and part of this I bear responsibility for as the treasurer the last few years. When I was the treasurer, when I tried to tell people that things were not going well and that we were in debt, and nobody listened. Everybody said, nope, things are going just fine. And it was devastating to me because nobody wanted to take responsibility or listen. And I didn't pursue it enough. I did not pursue it enough. I should have sat everybody down and said, listen, this is where we are in 2020 when we owed Porta $50,000. Nobody wanted to listen to the fact that our conferences did not make money. They lost money repeatedly, and we ignored it. We need to have a much better accountability system if we are going to go forward. We need people to understand, I am not probably going to be working in another 2 years. So you people are going to have to step up to the plate and pay attention to what you're doing if we go forward with this. This is going to be important. I think that we have done ourselves a disservice in the Mountain Lakes region and that people don't have faith in us anymore. Why don't they? Because we haven't reached out to them and said, listen, we are going to get through this and we will be stronger at the end. And you guys all need to make your voices heard. They need to start attending meetings. They need to pay attention to what goes on in their region. You guys are all young, and there's no reason You can't do this if you want to, but you have to want to because it is something that is important to the EMS providers. I think without a strong system to back them, they do pretty much what they want to do. And sometimes that's not always good. So keep that in mind that you're going to have to deal with this. So I couldn't change.
I remember.
Until you change it.
You'd brought stuff up, but he talked, he had answers for it that we believed him on. And then we had the people from the auditors, and she didn't blow a whistle. That
Of course not, because we didn't have a whistleblower policy.
She didn't.
Zach didn't
so
bring anything up
have-
because we didn't have a
Having
whistleblower
her in
policy.
there and having her say everything
Yeah,
was fine
exactly.
too.
The few times I
Back
reached out to her,
month
she
where
said,
he
oh,
said-
thanks for reaching out to me. She said, we've got this $50,000 bill. So I called Travis and said, Travis, what was your plan? He said, oh, I'm going to use next year's tuition to pay it off. What do you mean you're going to use next year's tuition? Then what are you going to pay the bills for this year? For the year coming up? What are you going to do? And then, of course, we didn't have a conference, right? We didn't have a conference because we didn't have any money. And so he put everything on a tab. I mean, I paid off bills back from 2021's conference in Glens Falls that he did at whatever the hotel is, Queensberry Hotel. I was still paying off all those debts.
Yeah, see, we've paid over $100,000 since you took
well.
over. We're down to 25 and we're talking bankruptcy. I'm like,
I know. It's like I would like to see this group get passionate about what you do and involve your squads. You know, like there's money in the program agency there's going to be money for recruitment and retention. We're going to have to pay money up front and then get it reimbursed. Okay, so why can't we do that? Why can we not put people getting their ideas together, involve your squads? What's going to work for the Warren County versus what's going to work for Clinton County for recruitment and retention? People need to get together and start talking about it. What do you want EMS to look like in the future? What should EMS look like in our region? Patty's very passionate about getting people to the bedside or to the roadside of her patient, to the house where her patient is dying. That's a good start. I think everybody needs to be there. You know, but if you don't talk about it and you don't bring it up in your own agencies, what do you know? There's maybe some great ideas out there. Let's use them. Let's work at it.
Ed's got your hands up, Ed.
Yeah, no, I was following up with what Jonathan had asked, and that was the Article 30 sets the number not to exceed a capacity of 18 regional councils. So that, you know, there's a limit. It can't go above 18, but the rest, you know, obviously it talks about membership and all the other components you're familiar with Article 30, but I wanted to follow up on his point.
Okay.
That was close.
Thanks.
Okay, so, any other comments? So I really need direction as to what you would like.
Jeff, just wait.
Oh, Tiffany?
Storm, you're right. You did tell us and you did warn us for years before we crashed. So let me just agree that did occur. You really did try. And you're right. We do need to take this forward ourselves. Absolutely. We're going to need to pay our debts off, whether we consolidate with another region or not. But again, do you want to share control of your region with other people? Or do you want to just carry it forward on your own? Because either way, we need to be fiscally responsible.
I think if we're gonna stay doing this ourselves, our financial committee needs to be very involved. And I think everyone on that committee needs to be held accountable if we're dealing with money, especially state money, because we can't let this happen anymore, in my opinion.
I've been through one embezzlement. I've been through, what else was the other thing we've been through, Travis?
education.
It's been, this has not been exactly.
But
You
I'll
know, the
also
easiest
add,
thing-
you said speak to your agencies. I know for the agencies that I do education for, they've washed their hands of mountain lakes.
Well,
So if
and that's that.
agencies have washed their hands of it, if we do keep going, how do we restore that? And I don't know that answer.
That's part of our recruitment and retention strategies. I think that we.
But what
need
are we
to-
recruiting for?
Well, I think you're recruiting for people to understand where we've been and what we've come through and where we are currently. I
The
think
recruitment
that,
and retention money, to be clear, is not for us. It's for us to bring more people into EMS.
right. But in order to do that, who wants to go work for an agency where they have no representation?
But I don't think with the plan where if there is an overarching corporate organization and then the two separate councils, that is a loss of representation. And I think we're blurring two different ideas together a little bit, and partially that is probably because the PowerPoint that we had was not the most up to date after they talked to Ryan. But if there is two councils that are just working together and co-meeting at the same time, that's different than Mountain Lakes just disappears and goes away and it's all one giant region.
Okay, so I guess I need to understand what you mean by two councils meeting together. So are we going to?
So there would still be a North Country REMAC in REMSCO, and there would still be a Mountain Lakes, or whatever the name would be. We will use Mountain Lakes just for conversation's sake.
Mountain Lakes for continuity.
So there would still be a North Country and still be a Mountain Lakes councils. There would still be those individual contracts. It would just be under the umbrella of another organization that would hold the state contracts.
Right.
Back.
Yes, they do the
Yeah,
back
that's
end.
fine.
And they would take care of all the stuff, so we wouldn't have to hire somebody again.
Correct.
Correct.
Right, and that's fine.
And then we would be eligible to get grant money for paramedics and
Yeah.
recruitment and retention.
Yep.
And there's 5 regions and 15,000, so
Yep.
it seems each
Absolutely.
will get 3,000 to do.
Yeah, I think when Jonathan says we meet together, is that a physical meeting or is that the Mountain Lakes region meets together? Maybe they have two people that sit on, that we get together in
So
an
it
executive
would-
session.
It would ideally go back to the remote way that with Better AV that we were doing before, where there would be a North Country location and a Mountain Lakes location. And the meetings would be held at the same time. And then there'd be one agenda for both meetings. That would be equal representation of both sides and concerns, and there would be just a larger pool of discussion, really. And then
Is that true of the REMAC also, that you would?
I believe the way ARMS has structured it is the REMACs are still their own, they haven't tackled going into the REMACs yet, because they're technically a subcommittee of the REMSCO anyway, so.
Well, which is
How that looks
what
is-
our physicians need to think about, is that, Tiffany, it's something to put on your radar. Right?
Well, I haven't even brought it up to those guys yet because I wanted to see where it fell
Right.
here. So, I need your thoughts on what we do next.
Why don't we put a exploratory committee together and figure out our pros and cons versus what they think our pros and cons are? And come back at the next meeting and give a report to the full REMSCO about that.
More information than lawyers have.
Exactly. And then we can make a decision from there.
Okay. Everybody in agreement with that? Or is there another opinion? And maybe we could meet with Debbie to understand exactly what her thoughts are and bring that all back. Okay, so thing 2 is, I guess, so the finance committee meets regularly going forward. Okay, and they'll start, because if you look at it, take that $10,000 out, we're like at 20,000. So it's, a lot of this is coming together. What'd you say, H&R Block, where are they at?
I don't know, other than they just are waiting for the depreciation schedule. As soon as I get that, they can finish up their stuff. So hopefully by the first of the year, we'll have all that done.
I will also add that getting your non-for-profit status is not gonna be back is not.
No,
gonna be,
no, it's gonna take a while. She told me that.
Yeah,
It takes a while to get it back.
and it costs money.
Absolutely. Everything does.
So I think part of that committee needs to figure out like how much this is gonna cost to do too. So that into account, any lawyer fees, as Storm indicated. What happens actually to the debt? Does it go away or does it fall
Once
out?
we finish paying all these people off, we can start putting money away for that.
Yeah.
I think personally, we need to get the instructors that have been waiting to be paid forever, paid. That's my personal opinion, but I think that should be a big priority.
Okay, just want to check on them. Just give me a second. So right now on the finance committee is Storm, Eric, Adrian, and Franklin County has an open spot and Essex County has an open spot. Adrian, are you still willing to do the finance committee?
Truthfully, no, and it's nothing to do with like current happenings. My workload at school is just, I don't know that I have time to commit to it, and I'm not really a finances type of person, and I don't feel like I can contribute anything to the conversation. Personally, I'll just sit there and nod and go, okay, whatever you say. So, if there's somebody who is more financially oriented than me, I will gladly give it up.
Okay, so I'm kind of like putting your feet to the fire at this very moment. So, you're Washington County though, right?
Correct.
Oh, you know who's got money on the brain? Mark. Give him one more thing to do. Have some gray hairs to his head.
He's gonna kill you, you know?
Yeah, he's gonna kill me.
So from Franklin County,
I can jump.
Okay.
and from Essex County,
Sounds like a good job for Michael.
Mike's good with numbers.
I plan on sitting in on those meetings because as a chair I can do that. So please add me to that email list. And Warren County, so she's, Adrian's from Warren.
That's where Eric is.
Eric's Warren. Okay, Washington County, anybody sitting here want to be on that committee?
Try Mark first, and if he doesn't, I'll do it.
Okay, so
If you want to, I'm sure he'll let you because he's got a lot on his plate right now. So I know you do too. I'm just saying.
Then yes, I'll
thank
do it.
you. All right. Okay, so poll should go out this week as to when we can meet next.
Yeah.
And what I really would like to do is say, okay, this is what's gonna get paid, or you come to us with that. And then really find out from H&R Block, really Steve is really our next big question as to what's going on with that, and our general insurance. I think each time we have a meeting, there should be a goal coming out as to what is expected for the next meeting. So that by the time we meet this committee, which I'll ask about that in a second, that's gonna fact find in this committee. By the time we get to our next meeting, we are well under control as to what's going on. Okay, sound good? Okay. On a fact-finding committee, who would like to be on that?
I'd like to chair it.
Oh. Franklin County,
I jump in.
Warren County,
Yeah, well,
Matt, Paul.
Pat.
I will get better. It's just that I'm not in the swing of being involved anymore. So that's Warren County, Washington County.
Oh, my.
Or I'm missing somebody. Essex, Warren, wait, one, two, I'm missing Clinton. Who is on the Clinton County group?
BJ, Jim Forbes, Storm Trader, and Tammy.
Is Tammy staying on? Is Tammy staying on?
Yes,
Okay.
she is.
I will reach out to those three. Oh, James.
Nobody else takes it, I will.
So is that a yes, or you want to reach out to the elders first? Okay. All right, I will do that, and then we'll
I'm
start.
guessing that Tammy's going to be too busy to take on much of anything
Okay.
because of her.
So I'll reach out to Jeff, and
Reach
then,
out to Jeff and then Jamie.
okay. All
I
right.
think that Tammy's, because she's picked up her second job at the hospital, so.
Listen. Okay, any other thoughts, comments, questions, anything?
I think as long as we can get all the facts and get the money situated, we'd be in a good spot.
I think we'd be in a good spot to make an educated decision. Right, and we'll know. All right. All right, cool. Can you reach back out to Debbie, letting her know that we will get back to her? How's that?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Any other new business? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Hold on, Tiff, just so you know, they gave,
Did you guys,
yes,
did
at
you
the
guys do
beginning
the
of the
Northern
meeting,
Monroe thing?
yes.
You
Yes,
did?
it went
Okay,
through.
beautiful. Wonderful. Thank you, sorry.
There had to be a stenographer here, so we did it right at the beginning of the meeting.
And you will push that wherever it needs to go to next.
Yeah, when Storm gets it, she can send it to me and I will put it in that nice little packet with the,
With what?
Vote.
Oh, this, yes, that's numbers report.
yeah.
Yeah, it usually takes them about a week to
So,
get to me.
so just to be
Give it a
clear,
couple when you send
Zach, you'll send us an email for the finance group so we can doodle poll that, and to the just call it fact finding for right this moment group. And that way we can get meetings set up and going. Okay? Perfect. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Scott and James.